Hey, welcome. If it is Thursday, it's Think Tank Thursday. That's what we try to do at 1 o'clock at Central Time. In case you're wondering, 1 o'clock Central Time. We just try to stop for a minute because we're all in the frenzy of busy. Even during this crazy time in our lives, some of us are more busy than others, and I think it's so important to stop a minute and just think about things that maybe we just can't get to because we're in the busy of doing. And so I'm so delighted today to have my friend. Oftentimes people think we're even sisters. We've got a little bit of that physical look like each other. Barb and I have worked together since I think 1998, if that's possible. Is that right, Barb?
That is, well, I know I started with the group in 93.
In 93, I came along a little bit later. Maybe it was even, yeah, I think probably
Schumacher was 95.
Yeah, no, I think I was 98, and man, we both have May birthdays. We both have a heart for people, and we had that wonderful exposure and experience with Schumacher and Company. Joe and Janelda are good long-term friends of ours, and we've definitely grown out and beyond with a lot of that inspiration. And I'm just excited to have you here with us today. Barbara Flynn is the CEO and founder of a wonderful company. I just love the name of your company, Barb. People First. How did you do that? How did you decide and know that's what the name of my company has to be?
Well, when I had the opportunity to start it, my background is human resources. I almost hate to admit, but I have over 40 years of HR background. It was
Wow,
my
10 years old. You had a 10-year-old start?
It's right. And I've always been about the people. You just have to watch out for everybody. And I've been so blessed and been taken care of. And so if I have that opportunity to take care of others, I want to do that. And it really does say it all. My tagline is everything, where people first, where everything begins and ends with people. And and for business owners, it's not just about the employees. Business owners are people as well. And so I provide that balance where I look out for the business owner, but I also look out for the people, and I try and have that balance. I have a lot of background in operations. I know how important it is for the operation, for the finances and all of that. So you just can't give. So, if a business owner says to me they want to do something, and they want to do it a certain way that may not put them in compliance with regulations, we look and figure out a way to work around it, to get them to accomplish what they want, but to be compliant and to keep the people happy.
That's great. Gosh, that's great. Well, this is such an interesting snapshot in time. I don't think people have been ever more important than they are today, and it's crazy. So many people have had to go home and work. Now, for my business, we've always worked virtually. Our people are spread all over the country, which makes your job complicated. And I will say Barbara handles the HR side of our business and also financial. So you prepare, your company does bookkeeping and payroll and all those kinds of things. And although I have a little company, it's complicated because I do have people who live in different states. We're not, I'm not managing compliance about whether or not they clock in or out, because that's really on them. They work from their home office. And it's so interesting because all of a sudden in this little snapshot in time, almost everybody went home to work, including you, right? You had to shut your offices down. And I know I don't have that on my list to talk to you about, but I think it's interesting. You and I have talked about, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep your office space, and will you return? Because I think this is an interesting thought that many business owners are going to be facing in the next 6 to 10 or 12 weeks.
I I actually am considered an essential business. So we did not have to shut down because we had to still provide payroll services and
Oh,
benefits and all of those things that are important to keep those that are still working. Even those
okay.
that aren't working, we were supporting those on unemployment, helping them get what they needed to file,
Oh,
explaining
right.
how to file. We were there for the folks that lost their jobs. We were there for the folks that continued. What about benefits for those that aren't working but maybe coming back? So,
Mm,
so we were an essential business, but a lot of my employees already were working from home, just like
okay.
all of Entertainment staff were.
Yep.
We basically had two people that were in the office, Monday to Friday.
Uh-huh.
And so I elected for us to stay home because I have an 89-year-old mother, and my other employee has some health issues that it would be safer for her to stay home as well. So what we did was we opened the office twice a week. I'm in there one day a week. She's in there the other day. So we can check the mail and just check the office and be there if somebody needs to visit. Very
Uh-huh.
rarely do we have that. Mostly people come to give us their COBRA checks because we administer COBRA. And so if they're
Okay.
off out of work and they're local and they want to drop a check off, they would do that. So we've made other arrangements for them. But if I could get out of my lease, which I still have 2.5 years on my lease, I probably would go 100% virtual because in working
Wow.
with Beth and Entertainment team, I see it works. It's
Yeah.
possible. And if I can save the commute time and get more time out of the folks that work for me, they're not driving to work now. They can give
Yep.
me an extra hour in the morning, an extra hour at night, or be with their families for those extra 2 hours.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
It works. And we're like you, we don't really have clients that come visit us. So,
Mm-hmm.
and Zoom certainly helps, has
Well,
helped.
it does. It does. Well, that's what I'm excited about. I'm just excited that the rest of the world has gotten more comfortable. How many times have we talked on the phone? And if you change this up, when you and I get to talk face to face like this, it's it's a completely different connection than
Yes.
on the phone. And it does feel like we're closer, even though you live so very many states away. And it doesn't mean I don't want to come hug you and go on a cruise with you and make sure we get to do the in-person thing. It's no substitute for that.
No,
But I
right,
think
right.
I think it's something for people to think about. And
Mhm.
can you imagine what are you going to do with the lease money? Right?
Oh, yeah,
Right?
that,
Like
uh,
that's profitability.
exactly.
That's 100% profitability. I think it changes your insurance
Right,
obligations because you don't have a building that you're having. I mean, I
right.
don't know. I think that there's a lot of things to think about that, and productivity. Can you talk about the productivity of your team
Well,
compared?
they're working more. They work different hours.
Hmm.
One of my staff yesterday was talking about the fact that, in the beginning, she's kind of struggled with working from home, but she said to me yesterday, I finally love it. She said, I actually, on
Yes.
Wednesday night, dread having to go into the office on Thursday. She said, I got 4 loads of laundry done. She said, it's forcing me to get up and walk around. She said, not that I'm taking any time away from people first, but when I'm in the office, I'll sit for 4 hours. And when I go to get up, I can't walk. I'm stiff. She says, this
Uh-huh.
forces me to get up for 10 minutes, walk,
Wonderful.
which
Yeah.
I want to promote. I don't have a
Yes.
problem with putting a load of laundry in the dryer and putting another load in and coming back and working for an hour or two. I do the
Right.
same thing now. I love it. My laundry gets done during the week instead of the weekends.
And there
So,
you go. And you got more free time to do what you want. I do
right.
think that I would love to see, and I'm sure there's 1,000 articles out there if I want to search for them, but just that indicators about productivity and things like that. And it's complicated right now, I think, because I think people don't have as much business. It's certainly true for our company. We don't have the same level of business that we had pre-pandemic, but we're really, really focused on coaching anyway and creating platforms to help support people out there as we move through our now normal, which changes every single day. Well, how hard
Beth,
is it?
I did want to say too, though, there are issues as far as productivity goes where you've got employees who are working from home and they're not taking time off and they have children and they're in school.
Yeah.
That's an issue. Working with the kids, making sure their homework is getting, their schoolwork
Yeah.
is being done. They need to be a teacher. So that is a struggle that employers are having now, is
Yeah.
that balance. And I have an employee who is in that situation and is overstressed right now. And
Oh,
we,
yeah.
opposite of you, we are having more work now than we did before because of
Mhm.
helping people through these times, helping
Mhm.
prepare for the PPP loan, now helping prepare the documentation and the workbooks and the spreadsheets they're going to need for the forgiveness loan.
Mhm.
We are working more, and I do see the stress level on her. When we do our Zoom meetings, the kids are in her home office at another computer and they ask her questions. So
Yeah.
she's having to deal with that. And so I do sympathize with folks, and we do need to understand that, and our expectations, we need to include that in our expectations when it comes to productivity,
That's a great.
during this time.
Yeah, that is a great point. Candy, who's got on our team, who's got little ones, she moved her office. Her office is literally in the playroom because it's a place she can cloister away. She moved it to the dining room, and because she's got a big picture window, and 8 children in their neighborhood learned to ride bikes during this break. And so they finished up their schooling, and so now there's like the suburban neighborhood bike gang, all 10 to 6 years old or whatever, and Candy needs to be able to, they're in a cul-de-sac, and she needs to be able to keep tabs on that. And then she's got a 2-year-old that, I'm telling you, our length of time for meetings needs to cap certainly at an hour would be good. 90 minutes, if we dare go over that, then our child may be climbing on her head. And so I'm okay with that as an employer, and it may be the difference between being a mom or dad, a male or female. I don't know, but I think everybody has had a chance. I keep talking about unintended outcomes, and I'm just not so sure that this family piece, the balance, and understanding if I can keep my commute time as my time instead of having to drive and deal with the stress of the traffic. My kids are important, and I need to help them with their schoolwork. You know what I mean? I'm not so sure all of those things aren't just fantastic and a wonderful unintended outcome. I am so grateful. My youngest child is 32. He is here with me, but I don't have to help him with anything. As a matter of fact, he's been great about cooking. So he's really
Beth,
up his cooking game.
I can tell you then how long it's been, because I think Jordan was 9 when you
Yes,
came to Florida
right.
at a meeting.
9 or 10. Yeah. Yeah.
And I got to meet Jordan, and now he's 32. So
there you go. That's it. We 21 years. That's it. Yeah. That's 22, 23. I can't even do the math. If he was 9, 23 years ago.
3 years.
So, well, I'm sorry we haven't talked about one thing that we said we were going to talk about. Let me see if I can get back on track here, Barb.
That's okay. We're covering important stuff.
well, it is, because like you said, and like the name of your company, the people first, like I'm obsessed with that. And I'm obsessed with it with regard to our internal team and with the people that we help, as well as are you. And I absolutely know, I don't even know how many 7 o'clock conversations we've had, and I'm sure I'm one of many clients that have needed your support and your help. I have a friend here, I know you know who Mike Coffey is, and he does background screening and has a big HR background as well. And I think he's meeting with somebody all the time. It's fantastic that you guys are there. You're like the calm during the storm, because you can read, and this has been complicated because things have changed.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts.
One thing will come out, and that's how come I'm like, screw new normal. That's a dumb term. There's not going to be a new normal. There's only going to be a now normal. And maybe that's the way it's always been, and we're just forced to look at it now.
I think that's the case, but I also know that our government is making changes every day. and not to be political, I'm not talking about a political thing, but there are laws that are being passed, executive orders that are happening in our states, in our municipalities. And you almost need to have somebody full-time just monitoring how it affects you. And in your case, you have employees all over the country. In my case, I have clients all over the country. So, and they're looking to me to be the expert to help them figure it all out. And unfortunately, I can only tell them that now normal, because I can say, okay, OSHA says this today, it's okay to take temperature today, but tomorrow the CDC may come out and say, well, that doesn't do anything, and which is kind of happening. But, just because they don't have a temperature doesn't mean that they're asymptomatic. So, people look to us to be those experts, but it's really hard to be an expert when the rules are changing every day.
Yeah, it's and I don't think that's a criticism over the people who are in the rule-making seat. No. I think we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
There was this, I don't know if you're familiar with Landmark or not, but
that's how I know that from. Yep.
Oh, well, there you go. And they have this beautiful thing that says we have blind spots, and so we have all the stuff that we know. And so those are the things that we've had experience with. And then we have stuff that for sure we don't know. Well, like that's all the stuff when you have a pandemic, because we don't know anything about that,
right?
Except as we're learning it. And then we have all the stuff that we don't know that we know. And
right.
And that's the big blind spot. And in this situation, man, I think there's just a ton of stuff that we don't know it yet.
Right.
That's how come I think
that other quadrant. Right.
Yeah, in that big blind spot.
Exactly. Now, it's like a big black hole.
Yes, that's exactly right. And it's interesting though, because a lot of times in that big black hole or that blind spot area, sometimes other people can know it. And so that's the thing that makes it crazy, because when you have experts and things like that, well, they may be able to see that blind spot that you can't see. And that's where I think that we're tripped up a bit if we wanted to be philosophical about life in America.
And that reminds me of leadership, because, a good leader will surround themselves with people that know more than they do. So in essence, to go along with the conversation, those people know those things that we don't know.
That's right.
So that adds and expands our ability to know more and to have people around us that can help us do more, be more, help more, and all of the things that we couldn't have done without them on our team.
Well, that's exactly how come I use people first. Because I exactly know that I can get so tripped up. My whole, in my leadership role with people, I want people to flourish. I want them to thrive in our organization. I don't want to manage people. That just sounds terrible. That doesn't sound very leader-like. But I want to be able, and I have to, I'm always working on providing a better, clear plan. But I just absolutely get insane sometimes with things like documentation, and God forbid I have to do a performance review. I realized a long time ago that I was really much better at cheerleading than leading. And when I learned that, then I had to my blind spot was gone. And I had to really get mindful and creative, and I had to study and learn to be a better leader, because cheerleading doesn't always work. You don't always get what you want just by telling somebody they can do it, they can. There's a time for that. But there's a time to tell people the truth and to have real honest performance reviews with them, strategies about this is how you're going to succeed. And then those very tough conversations when you say,
it's not working.
Yeah, based on our values and our goals, you're not a good fit. And whether they agree with it or not, if I'm the business owner, I need to be able to go ahead and make that kind of decision. And I really can't do it unless I do it right. And that's where
And
somebody like
and
you.
that's where trainertainment comes in, because you're describing what a good coach does.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
coaching is what it's all about. It's, managing is making sure that the widgets get out on time and that we've got proper inventory and all of that. Leading is having the people have the ability to succeed, to get the widgets out. And so as a leader, you're actually coaching your people. You're giving them the tools they need to grow and to be successful. And
Thank
so
you.
and
The
the documentation,
documentation, the process stuff, that's the hard stuff though, and that's where I have to have somebody like you.
right. But
Why
it's
is
hard
that?
because I can't be on your shoulder going, Beth, you had that conversation. Can you just send me
Would you
an
write it
email so we
down?
can put it in their file?
Yeah.
I've told people, just write it on a napkin and take a picture of it and send it to me. That's all you have to, but you need to document, because at this time, we kind of talked a little bit about when you want to bring somebody back and who do you bring
Yes.
back and what happens if you don't want to bring somebody back, but you've never documented or you never talked to them about now why you don't want to bring them back. For many years, they may not have performed well. They may not have had the same priorities you did, so they didn't meet your expectations, but you never shared that with them. And so now you don't want to bring them back. And how are you going to say, well, you really aren't the right fit for us because of these reasons? And they're going to go, well, why didn't you say so? I didn't know. I thought I was pleasing you. I thought you were happy with my performance. So,
Mm-hmm.
and
Do you
having
think?
it documented helps you in many ways. The person has been communicated to, but it also helps in making employers, and I hate to use this, but we have a litigious society. And so having the documentation protects employers from potential discrimination and other types of, lawsuits, age discrimination, all of those things that people, when they leave an organization, get upset with the organization. And so they react by, I'm going to sue them. And you've got your proof, you've got your backup to say, no, it wasn't because you were a female. It wasn't because you were 50 years old. It was because of your performance. And I've talked to you about it. I've coached you, and it just didn't work out. And that makes you defensible then in those cases.
What about this now normal, and you don't have enough work to bring someone back? How do you handle that if people have been laid off or furloughed, and you're getting your organization back up to speed, but you have 50% of the revenue that you had before all this happened, and so now you don't even have that seat anymore? How do you handle that?
Well, you obviously have to be fiscally responsible for your business, because if you are not, and the business goes away, nobody has a job, and you don't have the passion. And I would hope that every business owner has a passion for what they do, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. You have to analyze it. I did that, and I chose, when I had to make a decision on and this happened before the pandemic, but I had to make a decision because of financial reasons of what individual do I keep, what individuals do I keep, who do I not keep. I did look at performance, and I looked at who did the most or brought the most value or was the most supportive or had the same values that people first had, and had to make a very difficult decision in letting someone go, but it was for the best interest of the company. And because of who I am and how I built my team, I have the loyalty of the rest of the staff, and they all said, we'll pick up the slack, we'll get through this. We know it's temporary. We know that, when we get through the other side of this, things will pick up financially, things will pick up, and we'll be there to support you through it. And having that conversation with the team, sitting down and having a planning meeting and saying, okay, you're the team now. This is what's going to happen. Are you on board or not? And you should know those players that are going to say yes before you have the meeting, and you work it out that way. But you do have to, number one, be fiscally responsible to your business.
Yeah, I agree. And so you could downsize technically. without performance documentation and things like that. Simply
Right.
that
Because
we're not
at
bringing
that
back this role at this time.
right. And those are economic reasons. And
Okay.
that's the difference. Now, when you are, people tend to say layoff when it's a true termination, because the layoff means you have a potential to return.
Uh-huh.
If you are laying somebody off and you don't plan on bringing them back, it's a termination.
You need to,
Because
and you need to terminate them at that
you
point.
need to terminate them because you're not, you may use economic reasons, but you also know that that person was not the performer. And if you do have the opportunity to grow in your team and your your payroll, you can add someone to your payroll. You probably wouldn't add that person back. It would be somebody different.
Well, and I think that the same thing can happen on the employee side. There are plenty of employees, I think, that will have made new choices after this situation. Maybe they were in a company where the company didn't match their own values. I think that's why it's important for people to understand, what do I value, and then try to match themselves with the company that values what they value as well. And so employees may be moving on, and what do we do? What do we do as employers? Like I don't know what kind of advice you've been giving as far as communication, but I think if you've not been communicating with your team very much, the laid off or furloughed people, you may be really surprised now when you go to communicate with them, because they may well have made other decisions, right?
Yeah. Communication is important all the time,
Yeah.
but especially now, and I've seen it. I have heard from some clients of mine, well, they're no longer clients of mine, but employees from those clients where they've heard nothing from that employer. And so those folks are out looking for work.
Sure.
And are getting jobs. And those are the people that were there for them, but they now see that the employer isn't there for them now, isn't communicating, isn't giving them an update on where we stand. And so, communication is the key, and keeping in touch. Just as an aside, I had an employee file a lawsuit against an employer about workers' comp. And the employee shared with me that had they just called to keep in touch to see how she was doing, she would never have done what she did.
Oh, wow.
And so, while you've got to be careful, again, attorneys may say, no, let us deal with it. Even writing a card, a handwritten card saying, hey, just want to let you know, Candy talked about that in our webinar yesterday, the surprise of SOAR. I wrote that down. I have a note that I want to do a handwritten card every day to somebody. But something as little as that would have made a difference and prevented that lawsuit. And granted, it was workers' comp, so it was under the workers' comp insurance. But I guarantee a year or so from now, when they're up for renewal and they look at their experience, their rate's going to go up. So that little thing cost the employer workers' comp.
Everything costs something, I'm telling you. Everything costs something. Well, I want to kind of go quickly to, you've got some specifics here about language. So return language, not returning language, return to work offers. What are some of the specifics that need to be highlighted that as employers, we want to make sure we do it right? For everybody, for our business, and for the team.
I'd like to say honesty is the best policy, because that doesn't trip you up later on.
Yeah.
As long as it's legal, the language is in a legal, you're doing something legally. So if you're bringing somebody back, you just say, we're seeing customers, we're able to open. In the case of most of Trade Entertainment's customers, it's FECs that, now the government's letting us open our doors at this percent or that percent. So we want to bring you back, and this is the capacity we're going to bring you back in. Will that work for you? We're dealing with unemployment right now. And again, that changes from state to state. So I don't want to get into talking about specifics there, but being aware of that too, because some employees are opting not to come back because of the fact that they are making more money than they would be if they were working full time for the employer.
Right.
And so in most states, employees would lose their unemployment with that job offer. And that puts a difficult spot on the employer because they understand the employee is making more money. By making them the job offer to bring them back at less, they're now hurting them financially, but in the short term. And we had this conversation before, but do you want somebody who's looking at today, or do you want somebody who's looking towards the future to say, well, gosh, yeah, I can make a little bit more money now, but the way things are going right now, come August 1st, I'll be better off taking this job now because I will continue to be making more money after this temporary financial reward that's being given to employees that are not working is going to go away. And as far as not returning, just, economically, we're in a position that, we still can't bring you back. And if your plans are to never bring somebody back, again, honesty. Say, I don't see us bringing you back. So you let that person know that they need to be looking elsewhere.
Okay.
Because it's just important. Again, I go back to honesty. Just say the reasons why, and it won't trip you up, and the employee will respect that as well.
Perfect. Gosh, that's great. That's a lot. This has been a great, you and I could talk the rest of the day. This is a long think tank. I hope people have made it near the end at least. But like I said, I could talk. These are important. In our company, as you well know, we believe that when you grow people, you grow the business, and that it happens in that order. And so I have to ask you our signature think tank question. And I don't know that I personally thanked Bowling Music or Redemption Plus for being our digital sponsors, but I thank you guys for helping us. I know Candy's got a screen when they come in and when we go out, but I don't think I physically did it. But before I let you go, I want to ask our think tank question that we ask everybody. Because we're obsessed with growth, Barbara, I want to know on a personal level, what do you do consistently to help yourself grow, and even how you support others in their growth? So what do you do?
Well, I have a lot of certifications, and thank goodness for those certifications, because like you said in the beginning, we get so busy that we tend to put off those things that help us grow. With my certification and my licenses, I need CEUs. So I tend to do a lot of webinars. I tend to attend a lot of conferences. I get so much out of conferences, whether it be a healthcare conference, whether it be an HR conference, whether it be how to come back after COVID-19. We're inundated with webinars, but I try and do at least something once a week like that.
Oh, good.
Just to grow, spend an hour. I love to read, but I love to read fiction. So for me, Beth, you have motivated me. And I have gotten more into the reading of nonfiction, but I have a passion for fiction. So for me, that's my downtime. That's my true downtime, my work-life balance, to read. And I'm an obsessive reader. I read a couple of books a week, but mostly fiction. So while that's not as much, your People Grow from People, your book has been, or People Buy from People, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you, Barb. I didn't do the, I usually do a push, a plug, hold.
Well, I'll plug you. I'm at my home office. I don't have it to hold up. But that book, Beth, I read in one sitting. It was amazing. It motivated me. I learned so much from it. So yes, there are some nonfiction books that are amazing. And you helped me see the importance. I've seen you grow over the years, and you amaze me at your knowledge and how you quote authors. And I just wish I could grow up and be just like you.
Oh, golly, you made my day. Barbara, you can come do Think Tank anytime. That's wonderful. As my friend Mary would say, oh, one of my peacock feathers is flipped out there. Well, this was great. I hope you guys enjoyed Think Tank. I know I did, Barbara. It was wonderful to have you. You'll have to come
Thank
back. We'll have we'll be now in a more normal place one day, and we'll come back and talk about what's on your mind then. But it was
Sure.
it's great to have you, and I love you. Always have.
Love you.
Always will. Oh, we didn't tell them that you're the only person that ever fired me from a job. We'll save that. We'll save that
Next
for
time. Next time.
All right. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.